You do not have to travel halfway across the globe to encounter the unknown. Sometimes, all it takes is stepping into a national park. Behind the serene beauty of towering trees, cascading waterfalls, and sweeping vistas, there lies something that cannot be explained. A series of strange occurrences, uncanny migrations, eerie disappearances, and uncharted shifts in nature's order. What if everything you knew about the world's most pristine parks was a lie? What if beneath the surface something far more unsettling is at play, quietly slipping through the cracks of our understanding? The truth is, there are mysteries within these landscapes that science can't explain, yet they persist, happening over and over again. From bizarre animal migrations that defy the very laws of nature to unexplained lights that dance across the sky, something is stirring in the wild. And what is more chilling? These strange events are not confined to just one park. They spread across time, across trails, and they refuse to be silenced. Lock the doors, put on your headphones, and whatever you do, do not stray from the trail. The world's most beautiful parks may hold secrets that could change the way you see nature forever. Tonight, we dive into the strange, eerie, and unexplained mysteries that linger in the heart of these parks, where every turn, every rustle in the trees, could be hiding a story that has yet to be told. But remember, some stories, once discovered, may be better left untold. As we explore the mysteries that unfold in these vast, untamed lands, we begin with one of the most perplexing events, the strange migrations of animals that seem to defy nature itself. At Yellowstone, it all started quietly, but soon the rangers would realize they were witnessing something far more unnerving than they had ever anticipated. This brings us to our first mystery, the Great Animal Exodus. It started quietly at first, almost like a whisper in the wind. Rangers at Yellowstone National Park were the first to notice something unusual. The elk were moving, but not in the way they had seen before. The herds that had always followed a predictable path were leaving weeks earlier than expected, long before the first frost or snowstorms were meant to arrive. There were no signs of predators in the area, no drastic changes in temperature. So why were the animals so restless? At first, the explanation was simple: climate change. Perhaps the shifting temperatures had thrown off the usual rhythm of migration, when the same thing happened the following year. And then again, in 2020, the theory no longer seemed to hold up. It was not just Yellowstone anymore. The same behavior was being reported across the country. In Glacier National Park, over 300 miles north, and in Denali National Park, nearly 2,000 miles away in Alaska, animals were exhibiting similar strange movements. Caribou were venturing into unfamiliar territories, and grizzly bears were spotted far outside their usual range. In response, researchers from the University of Montana, along with the U.S. Geological Survey, launched a study in 2021 to track the animal herds. Equipped with satellite collars and drone footage, they followed the herds, expecting to see simple patterns of migration. What they uncovered, however, was chaos. Some herds did not just wander. They moved in wide, looping patterns, traveling hundreds of miles, only to return to the same spot they had started from. Others vanished entirely, their signals disappearing as if their satellite collars had been removed, and when they reappeared weeks later, they were found in areas with no food, no shelter, no reason to be there. The animals were not just migrating, they were acting as though they were running from something, though no one knew what that could be. But it was not just the animals that were acting strangely. In the same regions where the animals had stopped moving, something else was happening. Rangers began detecting faint vibrations on seismic monitors. Low-frequency pulses, registering at regular intervals of 43 seconds. These were not earthquakes, nor were they linked to any geological activity. And yet, they were there, undetectable to the human eye but ever present on the equipment. In 2022, the USGS pinpointed a specific zone in Yellowstone where both the animal disappearances and these strange vibrations were strongest. They launched a short-term exploratory project using ground-penetrating radar to investigate the area. But after just 19 days, the project was abruptly closed. With no official findings released to the public, one technician, speaking anonymously, hinted at something far more disturbing. The scans had revealed pockets of movement deep underground. Something was shifting beneath the Earth's surface, but there was no sign of water, no sign of magma, just blank data that moved slowly, like something with no mass, silently stirring below, and still, it did not stop. By the spring of 2023, entire colonies of marmots, rabbits, and even foxes failed to return to their nests in Glacier Park. Cameras placed in areas with dense animal activity showed no footage at all. Not a single movement, no sign of life, just eerie stillness. As the months passed, strange events continued to unfold. One ranger in Denali reported hearing what seemed to be footsteps in the night, only to find no one was there. A photographer in Yellowstone captured what seemed to be a deep, resonant sound, like breathing rocks. Except when he went to review the footage, his SD card was corrupted, leaving behind nothing but a blank file. It was not just the animals that had disappeared, and it was not just the vibrations or the strange sounds. It was as if the very land itself was shifting, refusing to follow the rules it had obeyed for millennia. And in 2024, the unthinkable happened. The satellite collars which had been tracking the herds began to fail. Of 87 tagged herds spread across 3 parks, 41 of them stopped transmitting their signals within 2 months. The phenomenon was too widespread to be a coincidence. These animals were not just migrating, they were fleeing. But from what? Was it the weather, a new, unpredictable climate shift that even scientists could not anticipate? Or was it something deeper, something hidden beneath the earth? Perhaps it was not the heat the animals were running from at all, but something even more sinister. What if the land itself was changing, and the animals were fleeing before they could understand? Why? We may never know the full answer, but one thing is clear. There is something beneath our feet, something that is shifting, and it is causing the creatures of these great parks to run in ways we have never seen before. The question remains, what are they running from? And more importantly, can we ever catch up to them? While the animals fled from something unseen, another mystery took shape, one that involved not creatures, but the very land beneath our feet. Joshua Tree National Park has long been a place of wonder, but what happens when the very ground you stand on refuses to stay still? It is a question that some researchers never thought they would need to ask until the terrain changed without warning. This brings us to the next unsettling mystery, the map that changed overnight. Maps are meant to be the ultimate record of our world's stable, unchanging, a testament to the permanence of the land beneath our feet. But what happens when those maps suddenly can't keep up with reality? What happens when the ground shifts without telling anyone? In August of 2021, researchers from the U.S. Geological Survey were reviewing satellite data of the Lost Horse Valley region in Joshua Tree National Park. They had done this many times before, but this time, something was different. The satellite images did not match the year prior. Entire rock formations, previously mapped with precision, seemed to have moved, not crumbled, not eroded, but shifted horizontally by several meters. This was not a small glitch or an anomaly with the data. They checked multiple satellites, all with the same result. The terrain had changed. But when they visited the site, everything looked the same. The rocks, the ridgelines, the trees all stood untouched, unscathed. Except for one crucial detail, the GPS could not lock. Devices that should have placed them within a few meters were suddenly bouncing by as much as 80 feet, constantly recalibrating, correcting, and drifting. Even compass readings were erratic. Drone stabilization systems failed to acquire a signal lock. At first, the researchers chalked it up to geomagnetic interference, or possibly a solar flare, but nothing seemed to make sense. There were no records of disturbances during that time, and other areas in the park were stable. Then, one of the researchers pulled up archived LiDAR scans from 2019. The scans were part of a wildfire prevention survey that had mapped the region in detail. What he found was worse than they could have imagined. A ridge that had been marked on every topographical survey since 1972 was simply gone. In its place was a smooth, unnatural slope, barren of plant life, a stark contrast to the rest of the landscape. When they returned to the site in person, everything seemed to feel normal. The ground felt solid underfoot, and the air was still. Yet, the cameras they set up overnight captured something disturbing. At precisely 3:43 a.m., the image warped. The timecode stuttered, frames glitched, and for 16 minutes, the camera captured nothing but strange distortions in the footage. When the glitching stopped, the image returned, and one of the larger rock structures had shifted slightly. It was not just the rock that had moved. The camera itself was cracked. Its lens caved inward, as if something had pushed against it from the front. Park rangers dismissed the incident, claiming there was no seismic activity in the area. The California Geological Survey reviewed their data, but found nothing unusual, no quakes, no landslides, no human activity. But the terrain had shifted, the rock formation had moved, and no one knew why. Further investigation in 2022 revealed that local subsurface scans had returned incomplete results. Bedrock in the area did not match USGS records. Some scans even showed the area as unstable. The researcher who requested further exploration was denied access, and the report was buried. To this day, the altered terrain appears only on select digital overlays. Printed maps still show the original ridgelines. Some GPS devices now show the slope that disappeared, while others still reflect the missing ridge. Locals avoid the area, not because of what they can see, but because of what they feel. A subtle pull, like something is tugging at them beneath the surface, or perhaps a subtle shift in the ground, so faint it is barely perceptible. One desert guide remarked that when he walked near that spot, "You do not hear your own footsteps out there. It is like the earth swallows them whole." Even more unsettling, a firefighter stationed nearby during a controlled burn in 2020 recalled something strange about the area. He said, "We used to call that slope the breathing ground. It looked like it rose and fell when the wind stopped, but there was no wind. If the land is shifting and the rocks are moving, what is beneath this park that is causing the surface to change without ever breaking? Is it some kind of unknown natural force, or something that no one is yet able to comprehend?" As the mystery deepens, the question lingers, what is it that moves the ground beneath us so quietly, so unpredictably, that even the most sophisticated technology can't keep up? Why is it happening in Joshua Tree of all places, a park that is already so enigmatic in its beauty? As the earth itself shifts and reconfigures beneath us, the skies above are not far behind. In Big Bend National Park, an unexplained light has appeared in the sky night after night. It is not a star, and it is not an aircraft. It is something that lingers, following a precise path, moving silently in ways that defy all logic and explanation. But could it be tied to the same forces shifting the ground below? Let us dive into the next mystery, lights in the sky at Big Bend. For over a decade, visitors and rangers at Big Bend National Park in Texas have reported a strange phenomenon high above the Chisos Mountains. It begins in silence, every night, with a light appearing in the sky, always the same, a pale, steady glow. The light does not flicker like a star or blink like an aircraft. It simply hovers, drifting in a slow arc, moving deliberately across the heavens. It does not behave like anything in the night sky should. In 2016, a team of night sky observers from the University of Texas set up a mounted camera rig to capture the mysterious light. At first, they thought it was an aircraft, but when they checked the footage, they were left baffled. The light moved in a perfect loop, repeating its path 3 times, each arc taking exactly 11 minutes and 32 seconds. No blinking markers, no heat signature, and no visible propulsion. The FAA confirmed that no planes were in the area, nor were there any registered drones. Even nearby military bases denied any flight activity during the time the light appeared. SpaceX, which conducts launches in the region, confirmed no operations were underway during those nights. It was as if this light was something beyond human technology, beyond anything that could be explained. Hikers have also encountered this light. One group near the Window Trail Overlook in 2018 described it moving overhead in a peculiar way, like it was tracing a pattern in the sky. As it passed, one person felt a strange static buildup in their hands, and another said her hair stood on end. But what makes this even stranger is that when a retired Air Force radar technician visited Big Bend in 2019, he brought his own tracking equipment. His analysis showed that the light was broadcasting a signal, but not reflecting one. It was emitting a pulse, a signal with no clear origin or source. In early 2020, the park set up temporary sky monitors to try to capture the light. When the loop appeared again, it paused mid-air, hanging motionless for a full 21 seconds. Then, without warning, it darted straight downward and vanished behind the ridge. There was no flash, no explosion, and most unsettling of all, no sound. 3 hikers, who were nearby at the time, reported feeling an odd pressure in their ears, similar to the sensation of descending in an airplane, but without any change in altitude. One of them passed out, and the others felt intense nausea, despite being in perfect health before the REL incident. They were treated at the Panther Junction Ranger Station, but their story was dismissed as a coincidence. Since then, more hikers have reported seeing not 1, but 2 of these lights, both following the same arc, never touching, never changing speed, as though they were practicing a routine. Some visitors, when reviewing footage of the sky, noticed the lights, even though they did not remember seeing them in person. It was as if the light was something only the camera could capture, or perhaps something the mind had blocked out entirely. So, what is this light? Some suggest it is a rare atmospheric phenomenon known as geothermal plasma, a product of extreme weather conditions. But Big Ben's air is dry, and its skies are often clear, making this explanation highly unlikely. Others point to the possibility of a government surveillance drone, though no known drone can stay silent, move with such precision, or operate for so long without visible propulsion. Perhaps the answer is simpler. Perhaps it is something that, like the park itself, exists outside of what we can easily comprehend. But one thing remains certain. It keeps coming back, night after night. The same pattern, the same loop, the same silent rhythm, as if something is watching from above, waiting for us to fall into its predictable path. Something moves across the night sky, always returning, always repeating, always watching. And the strangest thing of all, no one seems to know what it is. The light remains a mystery, persistent and unexplained, like a shadow from another world. While strange lights hover above, something even stranger is happening beneath the canopy of trees in the Hoh rainforest, where sound itself seems to disappear. It is an area so eerily quiet, so unnaturally still, that hikers have reported the very sensation of being swallowed by the silence. The forest does not just silence its sounds, it swallows them whole, and with it, perhaps, a few who wander too far. This leads us to the mysterious zone that kills sound. There are places in this world where sound does not exist, at least, not in the way we know it. In the Hoh rainforest, tucked away in a remote corner of the world, there is a zone that has baffled scientists and terrified hikers. A place known as the Dead Sound Basin, or simply the Cut. It begins just past a narrow bend in the Hoh River Trail, a spot where moss grows unnaturally thick and the temperature drops without warning. But it is not the temperature that draws people's attention. It is the silence. An all-encompassing, unnatural silence that consumes everything. Hikers who venture into the Cut often describe the sudden and eerie change in air pressure, as though they have stepped into an airtight room. They can still hear their own breathing, but everything else is muted. No birds, no insects, no rustling of the leaves, no wind. Even footsteps seem to disappear into the air. And as the silence deepens, so too does the sense of unease. In 2009, a team from the University of Washington's acoustics department set out to study the phenomenon. Equipped with sensitive equipment, they ventured into the Cut to measure the ambient noise levels. What they discovered was more disturbing than they could have imagined. Their meters registered ambient noise below 20 decibels quieter than a whisper. The silence was so complete, it rivaled some of the most soundproof rooms on Earth. But it was not just the absence of sound that was strange. It was the way sound seemed to be absorbed, as though the forest itself was swallowing it whole. One engineer on the team described the experience as walking into a vacuum, where sound did not bounce off the trees, the ground, or the air. It simply vanished, as if it never existed. In 2012, another strange event occurred in the Cut. 3 hikers set off on a trail in the morning, only 2 returned. They were not frantic, were not disoriented. They just turned around to make a casual comment to their third companion, and she was simply gone. No struggle, no sign of distress, no screams. The remaining hikers did not hear a single sound. The forest had swallowed her, and she vanished without a trace. Search and rescue teams scoured the area for days, but they found nothing. No footprints, no torn fabric, not even a sign of her gear. Just a dropped canteen, standing upright as though it had been placed carefully in the spot. Despite the investigation, the missing hiker was officially ruled lost due to separation, but to this day, her body has never been found. Then, in 2017, a sound technician working with a nature documentary crew spent a night recording in the zone. He set up 6 microphones around a clearing, hoping to capture the ambient sounds of the forest. At 2:14 a.m., something bizarre happened. All 6 microphones recorded the same static at the exact same time. No insects, no wind, just a sharp, low-toned hum, and then silence. When he synced the recordings back in the lab, he discovered something that defied explanation. The waveforms of the static were perfect mirror images of each other, as if the sound was coming from within the zone itself and was being absorbed symmetrically. Rather than radiating outward, the technician tried to analyze the tone but found it matched no known frequency, no biological pattern, and no instrument used in the area. The report was never published, but fragments of the eerie audio still circulate among niche researcher forums. Labeled only as Host Signal Mirror 3, some scientists have suggested natural sound dampening could explain it, a combination of dense moss, unique air pressure, and humidity. But even in the densest rainforests around the world, similar zones do not behave this way. And there is one unsettling detail that no one can shake. A few hikers have reported hearing something else. In the heart of the zone, if you stand still long enough, you can hear something breathing, but it is not you, and it is not near you. It is beneath you. A distant, hollow breath, as though something is alive below the ground, but hidden from view. In the highlands of Colorado, there is a place where the earth does not just remain silent, it takes something away with it. The sands of the Great Sand Dunes National Park shift without explanation, leaving no trace behind. But this silence, the strange disappearance of sound, seems to be just the beginning of an even deeper mystery. And while silence consumes the air in the Hoh rainforest, the Great Sand Dunes National Park offers a different mystery, one that is even more disturbing. In a place known for its beauty, the earth itself erases its own trails. Footprints vanish, paths disappear, and hikers who thought they understood the land suddenly find themselves lost in a place where nothing is as it seems. Next, we explore the eerie phenomenon of vanishing trails in Great Sand Dunes. The Great Sand Dunes National Park in southern Colorado is a place of stunning beauty and eerie mystery. Known for having the tallest sand dunes in North America, the park is surrounded by vast wetlands, alpine peaks, and forests. For many, it is the perfect destination for hiking, camping, and exploring the surreal beauty of the landscape. But for a select few, this park holds an unnerving secret, a secret that defies logic and eludes explanation. Visitors who venture off the beaten path to explore the dunes often find themselves drawn into strange occurrences. Trails that were once clearly marked, paths that had been followed by many before, suddenly disappear. Not just eroded, not faded with time, but completely gone, as if the earth itself has decided to erase them from existence. The earliest known report of such a phenomenon dates back to 1983. A pair of hikers set off on a well-marked route that led past the high dune overlook toward Medano Pass. They signed in at the trail register, noting their plans, but when rangers arrived to check on them after they were reported missing, something utterly baffling had occurred. The hikers had left no footprints behind, not even their own. Their tent was found intact, gear untouched, their names still on the register, but the trail markers they had been following were gone. The wooden posts, each buried nearly 2 feet deep in the sand, had been scattered nearly half a mile away in the wrong direction. The hikers were never found. At first, it seemed like a simple case of wind, an unpredictable gust that had blown the markers off course. But the weather records for that day did not support this theory. There had been no major gusts, and the sand drifts that typically reshuffle the dunes were nowhere to be found. In 1998, the Colorado Geological Survey sent a team to study the microclimate of the dunes, hoping to uncover some sort of natural explanation. They set up motion-triggered cameras near the edge of Star Dune to record nocturnal animal movements. But what they captured on camera was far stranger than any nocturnal creature. At precisely 3:41 a.m., the cameras recorded a trail, one that had been created by the research team earlier that day. But by 3:43 a.m., the trail had vanished. The sand, untouched and unperturbed, had swallowed the path whole. No wind, no storm, no disturbance, just flat, unmarked sand, as though the trail had never existed at all. The cameras had captured the footage in real time, but the footage was beyond strange. It was not like the trail had been blown away. It collapsed inward, as though something beneath the surface was pulling it in. No wind, no debris, no seismic activity, just the eerie disappearance of something that should have been there. As if the Earth had decided it did not want the trail to exist, and so it erased it from the land itself. Then, in 2006, a solo backpacker named Ana Del Valle vanished without a trace after texting a photo of a strange, perfectly circular indentation she found near the western base of the dunes. When rangers retraced her steps using GPS, they found the spot she had referenced, but there were no markings in the sand. Her body was never found. The following year, 2 hikers reported similar circular indentations in the sand, and they too claimed that their footprints had been wiped away as they walked. This was not erosion. It was as if the Earth was intentionally covering their tracks, erasing every sign of their presence. In 2015, park officials quietly shut down an unmarked access route along Music Pass after disturbing reports of rhythmic drumming noises heard beneath campers' tents. But these were not animal sounds. They were not echoes of the wind. No, it was something pulsing beneath the sand, a low, rhythmic sound that seemed to come from deep below. The U.S. Geological Survey installed vibration sensors around the dunes to investigate these strange reports. The data they collected was unlike anything they had ever encountered. Microtremors, faint underground pulses that occurred at regular intervals. They were not random seismic events, nor were they linked to any geological or tectonic faults. There was no known cause, no aquifers, no tectonic activity, just faint, regular pulses coming from deep within the Earth. Some experts speculate that there is an underground aquifer causing the strange patterns of collapse, while others suggest that it could simply be coincidence wind, sand, and panic. But when seasoned hikers and adventurers, those who know the dunes like the back of their hands, disappear without a trace, when the ground itself erases their presence, perhaps something deeper is at play. The Great Sand Dunes do not just shift with time, they erase what came before. The wind does not move the sand in these dunes. It is something else, something unseen and unfathomable, working from below. And perhaps the dunes are not just natural formations at all. Maybe the earth beneath them does not want to be seen, does not want to be known. And maybe, just maybe, there are forces in this park, beneath the sand, beneath the surface, that we are not meant to understand. Forces that keep things hidden, even when we try to uncover them. While the dunes swallow trails and the desert keeps its secrets hidden beneath the sand, Shenandoah National Park hides its own mystery, not in the earth, but in the shadows of the trees. Here, figures appear and disappear without explanation. Silent figures who walk the trails but never seem to leave. Are they part of the park's unexplainable lore, or are they something far more sinister? This leads us into our final mystery, the Walkers of Shenandoah. Shenandoah National Park is a place that seems to offer solace. Its sweeping Appalachian vistas, dense forests, and flowing waterfalls create a sense of tranquility that draws thousands of visitors each year. For many, it is the perfect escape from the noise of everyday life. But beneath the beauty lies a darkness, an unsettling pattern that has been observed for decades. Shenandoah has one of the highest rates of long-term disappearances in the eastern United States, and while many of these cases are explainable, some simply cannot be. In 2011, a hiker named Derek Mayfield disappeared while walking a 1.8-mile trail near White Oak Canyon, a popular and heavily trafficked area. His disappearance was not accompanied by any signs of a struggle. When search and rescue teams arrived, they found his backpack neatly placed under a tree. Inside, his phone had been turned off, and his wallet and half-eaten sandwich remained untouched. But what was most puzzling was his footprint, a clear imprint in the soft trail dirt that stopped abruptly. There was no evidence of him continuing on, no sign that he had left the path. It was as if he had simply vanished mid-stride. In 2014, a ranger received a call from a man hiking the Appalachian Trail section that runs through Shenandoah. The caller reported that he felt someone was following him, matching his pace without a sound. The man turned around multiple times, but each time he saw nothing. The footsteps continued, but there was no one in sight. When the hiker reached a ranger station, the call dropped. Upon tracing the phone number, it was discovered that no such account existed. The call had never come from a real phone number. Another disappearance. Another strange encounter. Then, in 2018, more hikers reported seeing a figure standing just off the trail near Skyline Drive at dusk. The description was always the same. Tall, thin, no backpack, standing completely still. The figure never moved, never reacted to their presence. One man said the figure's face was covered in dirt, but there were no eyes, just empty, shadowy spaces where eyes should have been. When they attempted to approach, the figure vanished, not into the woods, but simply disappeared as though it never existed. Locals have begun to refer to these figures as the walkers. These figures do not chase, do not threaten, they simply appear, and then, just as silently, they disappear. Sometimes for hours, sometimes for decades. They are not lost, nor are they confused. They do not need to be found. They simply walk, and yet it gets even stranger. In 1992, a park map revision included a mysterious note: "Do not authorize civilian back access beyond mile marker 61. Reports unresolved." The area marked on the map was now overgrown, its trails closed to the public. But even though the trail is no longer accessible, motion sensors in the area continue to detect movement. No animals, no wildlife, just movement where there should be none. Retired search and rescue officers have shared logs from their time in the park, and in more than a dozen cases of missing persons, there is a common thread, a recurring phrase that appears in the notes: "Last seen walking, not running, toward the tree line." There are no signs of a struggle, no traces of a fight, no indications of where the person went. They simply vanish into the woods, and no one knows where they go. What is it about this park, and especially these deep, fog-covered trails, that draws people in, only to disappear without a trace? What is it about these figures, these walkers, that appears so regularly in the folklore of the park? Some believe the walkers are nothing more than a piece of local legend, stories passed down through generations to explain the unexplained disappearances. Others think it could be something far darker, a force that moves through the park, invisible and untouchable. There are those who claim that these walkers are not people at all, but something else, something that exists beyond our understanding, simply observing from the shadows. The rangers of Shenandoah, of course, have their own theories. But one thing they all agree on is this: the walkers are not part of the natural world. They are something beyond the boundaries of the park. And they are not just stories, they are real. They walk the trails. They are always moving, always watching, and sometimes they seem to be waiting for someone else to join them. But be warned, if you do follow them, you might not come back. These are not just figures in the mist, they are something that lives in the spaces between the trees, something that you may not be able to escape once you enter their domain. So, what are we left with after exploring these strange, unexplainable phenomena in some of the nation's most iconic national parks? Are these mysteries simply the result of nature's unpredictability? Or is there something far more profound and terrifying at play? From animal migrations that defy the laws of nature to shifts in the very terrain beneath our feet, from eerie lights in the sky to shadowy figures walking unexplained trails, there is something in these parks that refuses to be understood, something that science and logic cannot explain. These parks, filled with beauty and awe, also hide a darker side, a side that has yet to be fully revealed. But even as the mysteries deepen, there is one thing we know for certain: these events keep happening. The animals are still running, the maps are still changing, the lights are still appearing in the skies, and the figures are still walking the trails of Shenandoah. Maybe we will never fully understand why. Maybe we will never catch up to the truth. Or perhaps we do not want to. After all, some mysteries are better left unexplored. So the next time you lace up your boots and head into the wild, ask yourself what is really out there. Is it nature, in all its complexity and beauty? Or is it something else entirely? For now, these national parks remain a place where the boundaries between the known and the unknown are blurred, and where, just beyond the trail, something might be waiting for you. Something that could change everything you thought you knew about the world. So next time you visit a national park, remember this: some trails lead you to discoveries, and some might lead you to places that were never meant to be found. Keep your eyes open, keep your senses sharp, And always, always be aware of what is following you, because not everything buried stays that way.